But Rat, you mentioned earlier how Tom Brady, TB12, Tampa Bay, came out and said no, he retweeted something. You had Carson Wentz come out and say something. Joe Burrow came out and said something. So do you think? And I don't want to make this about sports, but do you think any white person that occupy like an all black space, whether it's the 70 or 75% NFL, NBA team, whether it's music, hip hop, just indulgent in our culture, do you think they should speak out? Because if they want to, participate in the good side of our culture, so they have to speak out during the struggle of our culture. What do you think about that, Rat?
Yeah, man, I definitely think so. I was listening to something and Van Gundy, I think it's Stan Van Gundy. He said he was on a conference call with some coaches in the NBA, and Steve Kerr said that it's not just a black person problem; it's a white person problem. And what he meant by that was, why is this happening? Like similar to what you said about the five whys, about your job, Mike, is why is this happening? And you say police brutality. Why is it police brutality? Then you say systemic racism. Then you go back to slavery. I mean, I'm skipping some. You go back to Jim Crow and all that. Then you go back to slavery, right? And it goes all the way back then, and it's like all because of the social construct of race and a white person created that, right? And they kept, we was enslaved, and then they oppressed us, same thing. So I think once they understand that they're the reason that it all trickled down to this, and they start taking accountability for that and start truly changing things, they're the majority, and it's by a lot. You know what I mean? And it's that simple. You know what I mean? So of Tom Brady saying it, compare is a, I think it's a, I'm not gonna say a bigger impact, but it's a different impact, maybe bigger than a LeBron James saying it. You know what I'm saying? It's it hitting somebody else differently. It's hitting somebody else differently when he's bringing light to injustices and police brutality. So I definitely think they should step up and say something, because they are the majority, and until they want to change it, it's not going to change.
And Boston is like a super like racist place too. So with Brady saying that, I'm sure it wasn't popular.
For sure.
Go ahead, Sam.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I don't really expect them to do anything, but should they? I believe they should, because number one, for white people or any other dominant people, I think what the number one thing you have to do is you have to teach your kids a different way. Right. I think you should start there. So I mean, it's not necessarily what you say publicly, it's what you do in your house. And for Tom Brady, because Tom Brady has how many kids?
Three.
I
Does
don't
he
know.
have? Yeah, well,
He got
whatever.
two or three kids. Yeah.
I think he needs to raise his kids in such a way. And I know it's hard, but you have to instill these principles that Black people are not the enemy, that we are not less than, that we are not animals, that the things that you see on television are not a representation of really who they are. They're powerful people, they're an intelligent people, and they're equal to us. You know what I'm saying? I think that's across the board. It doesn't matter, sports, whatever field you are in. But if you are a white person, I think what you ought to be doing to speak out is affecting your next generation, and that's your kids and your kids' kids, right? So then when our kids grow up, they're growing up with different, because at the end of the day, um it's sad to say, but like this generation is lost. You might as well call it, this is dunzo, especially for the previous generation, like baby boomers and stuff like that. They minds is already set in stone. They are who they are. I mean, some people can kind of try and do what they can do, but for the majority of them, they have a run track mind and they look at us the way they look at us. But for the next generation, I think for white people, they have to speak out by raising their children to know that we are equal and that we are not less than them.
Go ahead,
That's what I
Mills.
have to say.
Actually was a great point, and that kind of ties into something we talk about a lot later in the show. But I honestly think that it kind of is a slippery surface, especially for the white race, only because what they would say, or if they would say anything, it may they may lose some respect from a lot of people, especially the African American race. And I think that may be a risk that a lot of them are not willing to take. So I really don't expect many of them to say anything.
You know what? You know what, Mills? On that point, I do agree, because like the expectation of somebody to change a system that benefited them so much is a high expectation, right? You got to convince them that the system that's been going on is wrong, which we've been trying to do for 400 years, right? And two, that the system that we're trying to create is better that's going to be better for you, or as good as for you and us as well. So those two things are going to be really difficult in a country where we're the minority and they're the majority, and they've been beneficial, and it's, according to a lot of people, it's the greatest country of all time, the greatest civilization of all time right now. So to say that we can be better somehow because all these injustices that we've been going on for this long, you know what I mean, and we can transcend and get better and be and propel us to the next however long this United States is going to stand, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult because why would I change this when everything's been going great for me since we came over here? So I understand what Mills was saying there.
Me too, and I was looking at it a different way, and when Mills said they're kind of scared of the backlash from what they will say, I think that's a very important point, and in some ways we got to understand they grew up a certain way, right? Like in one of the things I learned like going to Canisius, especially my first couple of years in my experiences and dealings with just white people in general, is that the way that they think is just something inherent, something that was passed down from their parents and then from their parents' parents. And it takes conversation. It really takes dialogue for us to get to what Mike said, why is this happening? Like we keep going from layer to layer to layer to get to the root of the problem. And real change can happen at that point. I know for a fact real change can happen at that point, but it doesn't happen overnight. And I think for white people, it's very difficult because Twitter is not a safe space. Like Facebook is not a safe space. Going on television and saying how you feel, that it's not a safe space. It's there. People are going to criticize you, so on and so forth. But if possible, if you can engage with real, authentic African Americans, if you know what I mean, I don't want to be derogatory, but if you can engage with real authentic African Americans, I think that will help, those white people and be able to craft and be able to have a public statement, but to have real dialogue behind closed doors. You know what I'm saying? And really, we kind of jumping the gun. I know Mike has something to say. I don't want to take the liberty of moving from another topic before Mike has to say.
I didn't really have too much to say. I'm just saying, are they obligated? I was absolutely not. But I want to kind of quote Robert Smith. It won't be verbatim, but he said,
"Is this the preacher Robert Smith from Detroit?
The one that paid for all the kids to tuition at Howard."
Oh, okay.
Not the Robert Smith. Man, put some respect about my guy name. I should be able to say Robert Smith.
A lot of Robert Smiths.
Y'all should know what I'm talking about. The running back. I know.
Mike, there's a Robert Smith in Detroit that used to pastor at Aretha Franklin's father old church. That's what I thought you were talking about. I'm being honest.
My man just paid so much tuition, and I can't just say Robert Smith. So if I say Kobe, everybody. I ain't gotta
Come
say
on,
Kobe Bryant. I'm just saying,
Come on, Mike.
put some respect on Robert Smith's name. No, but all seriousness, he said, "Yo, we have to be enough for each other." So I'm at the point where no, I don't need them to do, but if you want to, and you really mean it, then I love that about you. I love you for that. And we always need allies. Every time we have progress, we have allies. So obviously, we want them. But as long as if I got my brothers with me, that's all I'm worried about.
I hear you on that one, but the reason I say that is because the reason I say that we need them is laws. You know what I mean? If you want to change laws, if you want to you know what I mean? And me keep saying that they're the majority that's the reason. They're the majority, and laws not going to change until they vote for it to change. You feel me? So
Yep.
so we just need them on that level. You know what I mean? On your level, I think you talk about for sure. But on that level, we need some real legislature, some real legislation, and some laws to be changed.
All right, so now to the top